On his resume, a fresh start for him in Los Angeles, and the hope, of course, from LA standpoint is that Garland will get healthy. But we know that James Harden is healthy, Rue, and he's been durable, and he wants to, one, secure his next contract, his next payday, and then two, opt with a contender, and he does that joining the Cavs in a wide-open Eastern Conference, underachieved up to this point.
Yeah.
This is a guy who they hope will aid their chances or their ascent back up the standings.
Yeah, the Cavaliers have lacked consistency this year, to say the least. You know, they need a little jump. Darius Garland's a guy that's been in and out of the lineup. And I guess they feel like they can, you know, they need something to get them over the hump. And I guess they feel that James is that guy. But, you know, I'll be anxious to see, you know, how it plays out. We all know what type of player James is and how he's been at 37 years old. He pretty much is who he is. You know, but I really want to see how him and Spider play together, being that Spider's younger and trying to make his way in this league as well.
So Cleveland making this move on the heels of acquiring Keon Ellis and Dennis Schroeder from Sacramento. In exchange, they moved Darius Garland, who's one of their core four, and DeAndre Hunter, who was their key acquisition last year ahead of the deadline, and Hunter helped carry them to the Eastern Conference Finals, or semifinals rather, where they were knocked out. And so they entered this year as Eastern Conference favorites and are trying to find that footing again. It is going to be, I'm with you, Real, 110%. Like, I'm just so fascinated for that first game.
Yeah.
In all likelihood, we would love to see that happen on Wednesday because the Cavs and Clippers play each other on Wednesday. Probably not going to happen. But you also, then, if we're talking about Cleveland trying to aid their postseason hopes and dreams, you do have to take into account some of the postseason struggles we have seen from James Harden in his career. Now, this is another new chapter that he is authoring and the latest trade request that he has made in his career. He has a chance to kind of, you know, write a different story when it comes to the postseason, but that is part of this trade too that we have to discuss.
It's definitely part of it. I think this is his last go at it. Well, not his last go, but he's making an effort to go out on his own and how he wants to. And I think at this point, you know, I think he'd have to come into the situation knowing what the team lacks and also trying to alleviate that going into the playoffs. So I don't project him having, you know, the kind of seasons he's had before in the playoffs. But, you know, also you have Spider, who's a person that's going to drive the force anyway. Like, this is Spider's team no matter what. James is going to do a lot of things to help this team. But at the end of the day, this team wants to keep Spider. So that's part of the reason why they're bringing in James in.
So we look at the career journey and timeline for James Harden. This is about to be his sixth team. And he, again, has requested a trade from the last four: Houston, Brooklyn, Philadelphia, and now the Clippers. Is it something that you feel will impact his legacy at all as a player?
I don't think so. I think one thing that he's continued to do is keep his numbers up. Numbers at the end of the day is what defines a player, unfortunately, in this league. But also he's one of the most competitive, one of the most reliable players we've had in a long time. He's always there, always putting up numbers, and always available for his team. So one thing we know, he's going to be there and ready to play.
Chris, can I ask you a question? Are you working? If you're working,
go ahead, you got a question.
So, and this is, I don't want to put you in a spot where you feel like you're kind of speculating here, but this is the latest move for Cleveland as you sort of look into the future here. You mentioned what they have on the horizon with Donovan Mitchell and that contract. It's also hard to not look to this summer. Whatever happens the rest of this season with Cleveland, there is a particular player with ties to Cleveland that could be around to join this fray as well. I think everybody knows who I'm talking about. That'd be LeBron James. Is this in your mind at all, or is it just more kind of just floating around on basketball Twitter and in and amongst fans?
No, I think if you're looking at this summer, obviously LeBron James is going to be a free agent. This is his 23rd season. Next season will be his 24th. The end has to come at some point. I don't know that I see him finishing his career as a Los Angeles Laker. I don't know that. The Lakers are going in a different direction. Luka Doncic has established himself as a franchise player moving forward. I think it's more that you're quite within reason to suggest or assume that the Cleveland Cavaliers might be players for LeBron James to end his career. So there's nothing concrete.
Right. You're not reporting. I'm just using more your opinion as a basketball fan.
Definitely that's something we'll have to consider moving forward. And I think that's a legitimate case.
Okay. Rudy, you have anything to say, or should we go to break? Should we go to break? Or do you? Yeah, we're going to step aside for
the most of the season. And for more reaction to this blockbuster trade, we bring in CBS Sports NBA writer Sam Quinn. And Sam, first off, didn't see this happening whatsoever for a long time, but there are tricklings about it. What's your first thought seeing that James Harden is going to Cleveland for Darius Garland?
My first thought is that the Cavs were crazy, and then as I sat with it for the last day or so, it started to come into focus for me a little bit more. I think what this tells us about Darius Garland is that Cleveland just flat out didn't trust him to stay healthy. Last season was the first time in his entire career that he'd played 70 games. Of course, the toe injury really cost him in the postseason. He wasn't the same guy. He didn't play well earlier this season. He'd been in and out of the lineup with the toe injury. Started to play a little bit better, but he's now been out the last couple of weeks. I think at the end of the day, Cleveland just decided we can't trust him to stay on the floor. And if we're paying him max money, he's extension eligible in the offseason, that just isn't a tenable situation for us. We have a supermax deal for Donovan Mitchell coming in the offseason, or rather in the 2027 offseason. We just signed Evan Mobley to a new max deal. We can't afford to keep somebody like this if he's not going to be on the floor. James Harden, for all of his foibles, despite his age, does tend to be durable. So I think the logic here for Cleveland is that they're getting somebody who can keep them in the mix this year. Small guards, obviously we saw this with Trae Young, not generating the same trade returns that they used to. So they probably looked at this and said, we could maybe trade for a bad contract and get some picks back that way, or we can get somebody who can keep us afloat, keep us in the championship picture. That's what they did. And I mean, look, it's a rare sort of trade where you trade for somebody a decade older than your guy. When you look at it through that narrow lens, I think it does make a little bit of sense.
Okay, so you think it makes a little bit of sense. How about on the floor, right? With Donovan Mitchell, you know what I'm saying? He needs more production. Obviously, with Darius Garland being unreliable, having James Harden in that lineup, running the offense to a degree that should alleviate some of the pressure. But what do you think about the fit with Mitchell and Harden specifically?
I like it. Donovan Mitchell has always been his best as a shooting guard, right? Sometimes in the NBA, when you're a high-usage scorer like Mitchell is, you're kind of pigeonholed into that primary ball handler role. You're running an offense. I think he's better when he plays next to another playmaker, and James Harden is obviously a Hall of Fame playmaker. You know, the bigs in Cleveland, Jarrett Allen and Evan Mobley, they're never going to have easier shots than they will with James Harden. He's going to make them a lot better. Cleveland's bench offense, when Donovan Mitchell was on the bench, was bad for most of this year. Harden is going to be able to keep them afloat. They should be able to make it through 48 minutes in every game, always having an all-star level shot creator on the floor. Donovan Mitchell isn't going to have to carry that huge burden by himself anymore. There's a ton of shooting. You know, James Harden has always thrived with a lob threat big and a lot of shooting around him. He'll have both in Cleveland. The fit offensively is very good,